Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call this meeting to order. The Durham Public Schools Board of Education is now convened in its regular monthly meeting. I wish to extend a warm welcome to everyone here and also to our television viewers to this meeting of the school board tonight. Our agenda promises to be rich in information that will support and enhance our vision statement. Standing committees of the board will present information and reports that will keep you informed on what the district is doing to ensure that our vision of success for every child is realized. The board invites public comment at the beginning of the meeting and also before each agenda item. Board members always listen very carefully. We care about your concerns, but we do not engage in dialogue at this meeting. You can contact us numerous other ways. Thank you for taking the time to join us. We're very, very glad to have you with us. Now, please, everyone join me for a moment of silence. Thank you very much. And Natalie Byers is going to lead us and be our guest.
Thank you. We are just honored to have amazing students in Durham Public Schools and honored to have a chance once a month to invite some families to join us for dinner. And we used to have a budget where we gave gifts. Remember?
I
Gifts,
do.
parting gifts. But now what we have is our good wishes and our conversation and sharing ideas and fellowship together. And if board members will join me down on the red carpet, we'll welcome schools individually. As I call your school's name, if you'll come up and shake hands with us, it's what we have to give you, but we're always delighted with the conversation, the ideas, the energy you all share with us. And if ideas come to you after tonight, please call us or email us. We're here to talk with you. First, families from Y.E. Smith Elementary. Also joining us, we have Little River Elementary parents. A school that's near and dear to my heart, W.G. Pearson Middle. And there, yay. Somewhere out there we have some dragons from Brogden Middle School. Anybody still here? Yeah. Anybody left from high school? Jordan High School still here? Yes.
Good evening. It is now time for our celebrations. Our tonight's first celebration is the Duke University and Durham Public Schools Student of the Month. This program spotlights students who distinguish themselves with character and integrity. I'd like to ask Northern High School's Principal Matt Hunt to come up and introduce our Student of the Month for February.
Thank you very much. Anything I have to say tonight will not do this student justice. I want to present Bianca Decatur. She's a senior at Northern High School. I'll go through a long list of accomplishments. She has a 5.1 GPA. She's first in her class. She is involved in absolutely everything at school. She's part of the Spanish National Science Honor Societies. She's a cheerleader captain. She's involved in so many community efforts, both at school and outside of school, that serve the Durham community. I could go on and on and on, but the thing that separates Bianca is that she doesn't do those things to build a resume. She does those things because she has a genuine interest in helping less fortunate people, and she's an inspiration to me.
So I wasn't expecting to speak tonight, but and I definitely wasn't expecting to win this award when I did a few weeks ago. So thank you to whichever secret person at Northern nominated me. And thank you, Mom and Dad, I guess, for, driving me back and forth to club meetings and stuff like that before I had a car. And this is really exciting, and I'm so incredibly thankful to be here. So thank you.
I would now like to ask Durham School of the Arts Principal David Hawks to come up and introduce the student who has earned a special distinction.
Members of the board, Superintendent Osteen, and the public, it is a pleasure to present to the board a young man who has been chosen for the distinct honor of being appointed to the U.S. Naval Academy. He is the first student from DSA to ever earn such an honor. Mr. Ryan Mansfield is a senior at DSA. His college year will begin July 1, not in August like other people, because he has this distinct honor. He is talented in all sorts of ways. Academically, he's in the top of his class. He is was co-captain of the soccer team. He's a very talented pianist, and now he's going to go represent his country, his family, DSA, DPS at the U.S. Naval Academy, Mr. Ryan Mansfield.
I also was not expecting a speech. I guess I'll just say how thankful I am to you, Mr. Hawks, and the faculty of DSA for all the help they've given me, and also my parents. I'm very thankful to them for the help they've given me, and I'm very excited. Thank you.
We would now like to recognize a DPS administrator who has received a special award for being an outstanding young educator. Hillside High School Principal Dr. William Logan has received the 2014 Outstanding Young Educator Award from the North Carolina Association for Supervision and Curriculum Development. The award recognizes professional educators 40 years of age or younger who demonstrate exemplary commitment and exceptional contributions in school leadership. Dr. Logan?
Good evening. Yeah, I wasn't prepared to say anything, but I am so appreciative of having been selected, and I especially want to thank my supervisor, Mr. Key, for having nominated me for the award. It certainly came as a surprise. As I told the reporter, when I got the email notifying me, I almost clicked delete because I thought it was some spam mail. But I can't thank the NCASD enough for recognizing me for being 33. I'm just kidding. But again, it's just great to be recognized just for doing something that I really have a passion for and that I enjoy doing here in Durham Public Schools. So thank you all, and thank you.
Next, we would like to recognize a special group of young men from Lowe's Grove Middle School. Gentlemen, will you please stand? Young Men of Distinction is a program at Lowe's Grove Middle School led by Counselor Tamika Berlin. The program focuses on developing leaders in 6th, 7th, and 8th grades. Speakers are provided that focus on leadership, self-esteem, and goal setting. The young men visit local colleges as well as participate in science programs. One of their goals is to encourage students to understand the world around them, which led them here to their first school board meeting. Please join me in welcoming them. Yes, ma'am.
Could you have them stand and do their creed for what it means to be a young man of distinction?
Absolutely, please do.
Would you gentlemen please stand up and do that? Your mantra, please stand up and do that. At Lowe's Grove Middle School, it doesn't matter who you are or where you come from. All that matters is who you become and where you can go.
Next, we would like to recognize Durham Public Schools' support of the annual Greater Triangle United Way campaign. I'd like to ask Scott Denton, Executive Director of Auxiliary Services, to join me.
Good evening, everyone. This particular recognition is very important to not only Durham Public Schools, but our entire community. And I would like to say thank you to all of our employees for all the generous donations and contributions they made to support the campaign. The campaign ended on December 31st, and the total amount raised was $28,515. There were 684 donors, and we want to recognize a couple of people tonight that are not here, but they did participate in the campaign at a level that was very recognizable. One was Letitia Judd. She volunteered her time to star in the video that was done to promote United Way. The other person was June Snyder. She's an administrative assistant for Human Resources, and she coordinated the collection of all the donations from the time that all the material had to be sent out until it was collected back in. So June did a great job, and I want to say thank you to her. We wanted to particularly recognize our 3 schools that had the highest contribution amounts. So if they'd step forward as I call them out, we'd love to have you walk the red carpet with our board. In 3rd place, Pearsontown Elementary School, Principal Rod Teal, Building Level Coordinator Jacqueline Overby. Total contribution amount, $1,882. Congratulations. In second place, Eno Valley Elementary School, Principal Willa Johnson Wall, Building Level Coordinator Jeremy Hammond, total contribution $2,000. And I don't believe that they are here this evening, so we will give them a round of applause just the same. And then finally, first place is Neal Middle School, Principal Jill Hall, Building Level Coordinator Jacqueline Kersey, total contribution amount $2,490. And they have a couple other folks with them as well, and I'm sure participated in the campaign. They're very much a team, so congratulations. I'll give the first person the plaque, and you can share it with everybody else. Thank you so much. And once again, just to say thank you to all the employees that participated. Without everybody participating, it could not be as successful. So thank you very much, all the employees.
It is now time for us to celebrate our community partners who provide support to our students and for our school improvement efforts. We will welcome up Dr. William Logan again, who is principal of Hillside High School, to introduce us to Wood Forest National Bank.
Good evening again. Hillside's Business and Finance Academy and Wood Forest National Bank have partnered to increase the knowledge of financing and banking. Students, staff, and families will be able to open and deposit checking and savings accounts at Hillside High School. The program also provides internships and serves as a hands-on learning center for students to gain banking skills in the banking industry. I would be remiss if I failed to mention the level of partnership that Wood Forest came to the table with, and I think that's what is so inspirational about our partnership with Wood Forest. Not only did they come with furniture, funding, professional development, but they came with commitment. They've been there from the beginning, and they're still there. And the level of respect that they have for our students who are actually doing their internships through the banking and through our school's bank is just tremendous. And I can't thank them enough for all that they've done to help us really do the things that we want to do and see done with our Business and Finance Academy. So, ladies and gentlemen, please join me in congratulating our partners at Wood Forest Bank.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it. Thank you all for having us. It's been a real honor and a privilege to work with everyone at Hillside, Dr. Logan, Miss Ross, Miss Day, all of the teachers and all the administrators. And I think for all of the educators who really spend every hour of their waking days working to help enhance the lives of students, they're the ones that really are to be congratulated. We just come in and we're offering a little bit of support to them. So we're just here to enhance the strength of the team that's already doing the job. We appreciate this opportunity, and thank you so much for this recognition.
Thank you so much.
So concludes our celebrations. We have so much to celebrate in Durham Public Schools. That brings us to item number 5, which is the superintendent's update. Mr. Osteen.
Thank you, Ms. Carter. I just have a couple of quick, brief, positive notes I wanted to share with folks. The first of which may sound like it's very minor, but makes a big difference in my day and others. Positive things are happening in child nutrition. And the other
That's
day,
not minor.
That's not minor, is it? I stand corrected, or sit corrected, either way. I got a note the other day from the USDA about a program that our child nutrition folks administer, and the Department of Agriculture as well. And it just went on and on about how perfectly I's were dotted, T's were crossed on the program that child nutrition was running. And it just made me feel good to know that they were doing things very well, totally compliant. And the letter just made me feel good for the rest of the day. And I want to thank Jim Keaton for doing such a good job. He's really taken that department in new places.
Mm-hmm.
So kudos to them.
Let's thank Jim Keaton. Hey,
It's nice when you get a letter that says
Yes.
everything's okay.
Yes.
Absolutely.
We also have endured some recent snow days, and we had a couple of closed days, and we had one late day when we came in several hours after school to get all the kids home safely. But one of the things we learned from our snow days is how to do things better next time around. We also learned, though, that we have a lot of people that go the extra mile. We had senior executive leadership team taking students home if they needed to. We had transportation people out there real late to make sure everybody was safe, and it was a good group effort. So we were very, very pleased to find out how much folks go the extra mile in DPS. Lastly, earlier this week we had a realtors meeting. Thank you for Chrissy Pearson for helping to organize that. We showcased several schools to the realtors. There were 30 or 40 folks present, and these are people who sell our community. And at the same time, they're really selling us too, so we gave them a great product to sell. It moved everybody in the room. You would have been amazed to see these young people with their staff, sometimes with them. Principals were there as well. But they blew their doors away. And it was a very uplifting experience to see these young people represent Durham Public Schools so well. So I wanted to share that with you as well. Awesome. So thank you.
That's awesome, Mr. Osteen. Thank you. We're so proud of all of our staff, of our students, and really of our community for taking ownership for your public school system in Durham. All right, that brings us to item 6, agenda review and approval. Board members, does this agenda meet with your approval?
I move that we accept the agenda as written.
It's been moved and seconded that we accept this agenda. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. It is unanimous. Item 7 is general public comment, one of our most important agenda items, one that we look forward to. All righty. We have 10 individuals signed up to speak to us tonight. When your name is called, you can come forward to the microphone, and you may have 3 minutes and listen for the beep or the buzz, or listen for the sound that indicates your time is up. Oh, you need to know who's first. All right. It looks like number 1 is Lois Johnson. Number 1 is signed up for number 2. Is Mr. Chavis? Okay.
Good evening. Thank you for allowing me to stand in front of you again concerning the issue about Red Mill contracting service. Spring is approaching, and it has been over at least 8 months since this situation was brought to your attention. It is no need for them to have the safeguard on the lawnmower if the employees are going to lift the safeguards up to cut the grass. So we are right back to square one. And it's dangerous. And this is a very serious issue to me. With me being a retired registered nurse and being in the emergency room, I know what a lawnmower can do. So please listen to me. As I told the mayor 3 years ago, why are we treating Red Mill Lawn Service as kings and queens and our students at DPS as slaves? Your action about this situation tells me that the student safety have no value to you at all. All I'm asking is that Red Mill follow the rules and regulations. And if they cannot follow the rules and regulations, then I think you need to rescind their contract. It's serious. And I really do need your help.
Thank you very much, Ms. Johnson. Thank you, Ms. Johnson. And you, someone from our operations department will follow up with you. Our second speaker is James Chavis.
Good afternoon to the board. And I once again come with you the same complaint to Ms. Johnson, but I'm coming asking for more. I'm asking for Osteen's job and that company to be dismissed. And the reason why I'm asking for it, because they are not concerned about the senior citizen that comes into our health and others that come into that health building. They are not concerned about the students that sits out there on the wall. They're not even considered about the staff that's employed over there. And they're not considered about the community folks at all. Now, this has been reported to you all before, and action is supposed to have been taken, but action was not. I'm not going to sit around and wait till an accident happen over there so people can start asking us why hadn't nothing taken place. Now, the chair knows about this. Osteen supposed to came to our Housing Advisory Board meeting. Did he come? No. He sent a report. But was that report response? No. Now, this is the key. This is after the fact. Why are we paying him and other staff not to do their job? Why? Because they won't do what we peoples in the community do. When it means something to you, you will go out there yourself and keep account of what they will not do. This is the same company that we have reported to the chair and Osteen, and they still will not follow the rules and regulations. And look at the date down there. See, this is about the goodness of a camera. It gives you the date. And the spring and summer coming again. I hope they are not on this contract, and I hope you're thinking about getting rid of Osteen too, because I'm not going to let these two make an accident in our community. We are low wealth enough. We have a bad reputation enough, but to help to bring down a building that the community fought hard against the school board, the county, and the city to get up and running. We will not lose that building because of little stuff like this, because we already got bad reputation, and we want to keep something clean over there. So I'm asking the school board to help us get rid of the two, and you will be doing your job.
Thank you, Mr. Chavis. We'll follow up with you. Mr. Osteen and I will follow up with you because we like to keep him around. Thank you.
Well, I will be here again doing the same thing again. I'm not giving up till y'all get rid of
Your
it.
time's over. Thank you, Mr. Chavis.
Oh, the bell has not rang
Item
yet.
3 is Dabney Hopkins.
Good evening, members of the board. My name is Dabney Hopkins, and I'm a teacher at R.N. Harris Integrated Arts Core Knowledge Elementary. Proud to be at the school. Been there for a number of years, and we work hard to do the best that we can to serve our students in the community. Our staff, though, is very concerned about the 25% contract legislation that was passed during this past legislative session. We feel that this is divisive and in the absolute worst way to go in terms of steps to ensure the best teachers for students in our system. And our students deserve the best. We appreciate very much the resolution that you passed earlier opposed to this, and we would support any other actions that you would decide to take. I have a petition signed by the overwhelming majority of our staff who will decline to sign and who are opposed to this position.
Thank you, Ms. Hopkins, for this and for your service. And we will put this with the others. We have quite a few. Our next speaker is Nicholas Graber Grace. Did I say that right? I'm doing well tonight.
Good evening. My name is Nicholas Graber Grace. I teach social studies at Hillside High School, and I have a kindergartner at E.K. Poe Elementary. I'll be very brief. I'm here for similar reasons as Ms. Hopkins. I wanted to add another school to more than a dozen schools in Durham that have declined to sign. This is the petition signed by nearly all teachers at E.K. Poe Elementary who have declined to sign. And again, we ask you to continue to stand with students and teachers. These contracts are divisive. Teachers are motivated by collaboration and what we can do for our students. We're not interested in competing with each other for whatever scraps the state wants to send our way. So thank you for your ongoing support, and we're going to continue to push on this both here and at the state level. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Our next speaker is Jacqueline Turnwald.
Have to pop open my computer. I didn't have time to print out my comments. I'm sorry.
No problem.
It's nice to see you this evening. I'm Jackie Turnwald from the School for Creative Studies. I'm also here for similar reasons as the previous two speakers. I think that something that the legislators keep forgetting in some of the legislation that's been passed down recently is that a teacher's work environment is also a student's learning environment. And something that our students learn in their history classes is that history tells us that life offers but a few moments in an individual's life to take action in a way that drastically changes the circumstances for a larger population for the better. And furthermore, when those rare opportunities arise, they sometimes require that we shed the yoke of our recognized system and stand alone as an individual with values, vulnerable to criticism, and even the law. Very few embrace these moments, or our world would likely be a much better place. Recently, Guilford County embraced just such an opportunity by voting not to comply with the 25% legislation. I would like to encourage our board to follow suit. In our school's decline to sign letter was the following quote from Thoreau: "Must the citizen ever for a moment, or in the least degree, resign his conscience to the legislator? Why has every man a conscience then? I think that we should be men first and subjects afterward. Please know that you are supported in acting as men and women first. You can be the first wave in the coming tsunami of clear consciences."
Thank you very much, Ms. Turnwald. Our next speaker is Kim Aniakiachi. Anikishi. I love that.
Yeah, thank you. Well, I appreciate your time. When I signed up, I thought that I was going to have something unique to say. Unfortunately, I'm falling behind people who know more about this than I do. The teachers know more details. They know more of the exact direct effect of this 25% compensation thing. But I'm a parent, and I know what teamwork has done for my daughter. My daughter is at both ends of the spectrum when it comes to challenges. She has a learning disability, and she's academically gifted. And the only way they have been able to really help her, teach her, encourage her, and have her performing just tremendously better in one semester is by working as a team. And I don't know about all this legislation stuff, but I know about team building. And you don't do it by pitting team members against each other. And that's what this is doing. There are other ways to reward our teachers. I'm encouraged. I heard that there's a task force being formed. I don't know a lot about it because it's just being started. I hope they find a good way to compensate our teachers, but this isn't it. So I encourage you, please, not to support this. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Kim. Thank you very much, Kim. Our next speaker is Matt Stutzman.
Well, good evening, board. Good evening, friends of education. I come here today to speak on a little bit about the fine arts department in our great Durham schools. I was watching the Shark Tank, a great business show, and I picked up a really good saying. Those businessmen, they said, if you're not growing, you're dying. And I find that's very important to understand with our music education. Over the past several years, we've been making cuts, and we've been making cuts. But the problem is, us teachers that are working so hard, especially in music education, we're growing our programs. I've been growing in my program about 10 to 15% each year since 2006. I have went from about 50 students to about 115 students. And the problem is, when I did the math of how much money we get from the state, from the government, from DPS, divided by how many students I have, my first year, on average, each one of my students got $49.50. That's strings, that's music, that's instrument repair. But now that I have 115 students and my budget's been cut, $8.26 is what we spend on each student. And so what I'd like to do is really encourage you guys to go back to those 2005 levels of where funding was at. And I'd also ask that maybe we can compensate for inflation and maybe even ask for a little bit more. I do have a number in mind. Typically, this year I received $375 for repair and $575 for supplies. 2005, I received $500 for a repair and $750 supplies. But I would like to ask for a 30% markup, which turns it into $650 for repair, $975 for supplies, and then also a return of a instrument. We called it Mary Casey money. And this is where we were allowed to buy some more instruments, and I'd like to ask for an additional $2,000 per year to buy more instruments for my students who I would love to introduce Cece Azubuke. He's one of my great students. I'm going to just let him talk a little bit about the state of instruments for the last 30 seconds or whatever we got.
Well, thank you, Ms. Stutzman. You've taught me everything I know. Well, I'm not also somebody that plays an instrument. I'm also an athlete. I play football, basketball, and I run track. And for football, I have to pay for like pads and cleats and stuff like that. I pay $150. And basketball, for like the sweatshirt and the sweatpants and the shoes, I pay about $160. And track expenses are $100, and that will all equal for $110. No, sorry. Well, violin rentals are $30, and my parents, when I asked them if I can rent a violin, they told me no, because I've already been spending too much on things like for sports. So I got a instrument from the school, but the instrument is worn out. It doesn't even sound good. I can't press on it when I'm playing, and I can't take it home when I'm trying to practice and get better at what I do. So all I ask is that you just help our school, our musical arts, or our musical arts, so we can buy more music, new instruments, so kids can enjoy and play better. And thank you.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Stutzman, and thank you to your student as well. You're obviously teaching him more than music. Advocacy skills, too. Way to go. That's our teachers for you. Our next speaker is Andrea Underwood.
Good evening, board, community members. Before I start, I just have to acknowledge the young men of distinction from Lowe's Grove. I know they've been acknowledged earlier, but I was just excited to see them. I visited with them before, and some of my former students are back there too from Southwest Elementary School. So great job, guys. You all keep up the great work. Mr. Curry and Mr. Melton, keep up the great work for them. Since October, I have stood before the board monthly and beside the board at walk-ins and declined to sign school-based activities and sessions, and most recently at a press conference, and Kim was there herself. And tonight, I continue to stand on behalf of 100% of our students, 100% of our staff, and our parents, not just 25%. To date, the action of the board in accepting NCAE's resolution against 25% contracts is to be commended. As a board, your actions are not alone. In this statewide decline to sign campaign, the following Board of Educations have also passed a resolution: Caswell County, Pitt, New Hanover, Cumberland, Davidson, Mitchell, Cleveland, Alexander, Surrey, Mount Airy, Iredell, Statesville, Watauga, Forsyth, Pender, Robeson, and Brunswick. I feel like I'm in 4th grade social studies all over again. As you have been presented with petitions and open letters tonight and in board meetings past, and from various school communities across our district, you are not alone. Petitions are currently active in Wake, in Beaufort, Stanley, Randolph, Lincoln, Wilkes, Anson, Union, Cabarrus, Stokes, Catawba, Gaston, Caldwell, Polk, Henderson, Transylvania, Macon, Dare, Carteret, Washington, and Pasquotank counties. There is only one board that is preceding ours, which is Guilford County, and in a historic move 2 weeks ago, the GCS board voted to refuse to implement 25% contracts. And as this is a serious issue, I would just like to say, as an Eagle, I would not like for those Aggies to outdo us in this matter. So I stand here tonight asking the board that you will consider refusing to implement 25% contracts. And in my last few seconds, I'd just like to say that ranking 48% in per pupil funding as a state just wasn't low enough. And we're all aware of the school voucher program, which the legislature has passed, which will divert over $11 million out of the public school system. And we just had that young man talk about cleats and violin and sportswear that he would need. And so it pleases me to be able to state that last week, Superior Court Judge Robert Hobgood granted the preliminary injunction sought in the lawsuit Hart v. State, effectively halting the new voucher program. And that was because of NCAE, the North Carolina Justice System, and our state school board association. So thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Underwood. Not engaging in dialogue, but I am going to say we were one of the victorious plaintiffs in that case. We joined that lawsuit, the lawsuit against vouchers. We were part of that litigation. Our next speaker is Jeff Lang.
Good evening. I'm here for Riverside High School. We too have a petition. We, as a faculty, strongly declined to sign. 103 teachers have signed this petition, and we really want the school board to follow Guilford County Schools and stand strongly against the ill-advised statute.
Sure, yes, I'd like to collect those. Thank you very much for your comments and for your work to get these signatures. Our next speaker is Leonardo Williams. Is Mr. Williams with us? There he is.
Hello, hello, hello. Came quicker than expected. So I am here also to say what the others have said. I'll keep it short. Please know that we are behind you. In the business sector, you know, it's okay to have one best business, but in education, we want all of our schools to be the best. So creating a divisive, competitive environment is just not good for the students. And a trending record for our school boards, I know that you all think a lot better than the folks who are deciding this. The other thing I want to say is a little bird told me that we had some extra cash around, and I would like to say if we can please reallocate funds that have been cut over the past years. And Mr. Stutson was just up here speaking about that. And, you know, just briefly, we all work hard, you know, but when you're at work from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. because you care about the experience for your students and you want them to have the greatest, and you travel across the state to have the best marching band ever. However, they're in front of other bands with duct tape on their instruments, and you know, students that really want to be involved, but the school just don't have the instruments for them. Families can't afford it. That's just not right. And I believe we're now in a position to take the lead in the state and really show our state how Durham can really treat our students and give them what they really deserve. So as an advocate for my students, it's my obligation to stand here tonight and say, let's take another look at how we're really investing in our students. And the number one public school in the state is an art school. So if we just really reinvest in our arts, any school with a strong arts department is doing great academically. I think we have the solution. Let's just help our folks in Raleigh interject the common sense behind it. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Williams, and thank you to all of our speakers tonight. I guess I would be out of order if I replied to the teachers who've asked us to consider the 25% to consider not complying with the provision of the Appropriations Act that asks us to identify our 25% most effective teachers without telling us how to identify them or ensuring us that we'll be able to pay for them in ensuing years. And we understand fully that it's divisive, it's not unifying. We believe in professional learning communities, and that's why we agree with you, and we did sign the resolution. I want to assure you that we are behind you, and we are considering the Guilford County their litigation, their approach to being defiant. We're considering that. Minnie and I went to Greensboro. We met with about 10 chair and vice chair from about 10 districts across the state to talk about this litigation with the Guilford County attorney and also with their board chair. There's a lot of interest in this. People have emailed us, and we're talking tonight about asking us to do what they did, which was to decline to comply. Actually, what they have done is their legal counsel is they filed a lawsuit asking the judge. I'm going to ask Mr. Sue to explain because he's been helping us. Mr. Sue is our attorney. We've asked him to give us a briefing, and later we're going to have that in closed session. I just want you to know how seriously we're taking this. And Mr. Sue, if you would help me explain exactly what Guilford County actually has done, I would appreciate it.
They passed a resolution that was similar to the resolution that you passed, except as part of that resolution, they directed counsel for the school system to go forward and seek what is called a declaratory judgment that the law is invalid. So they haven't said we're not going to comply with the law. What they've done is asked their legal counsel to go to court to get a judge's determination that the law is not valid and that they do not have to comply. That has not yet been filed. I don't have a definite, but it's my understanding that it could be filed very soon, as early as tomorrow.
And so my interpretation of that is that they're basically asking for permission not to comply from the judge. They're asking for the judge to declare they do not have to comply.
And that they should not be subject to criminal sanctions for failing to comply.
And that they should not be subject to criminal sanctions for failing to comply.
Because they see it as unconstitutional.
Exactly. They see retroactive elimination of career status as unconstitutional. Guilford's resolution makes it clear that they're not necessarily opposed to the elimination of all career status, just the retroactive. Prospective elimination of tenure might be okay with them. So these are things that we have to consider. You can see that there are complexities here, and we want to be sure that we're doing the best thing for our teachers and for our public schools. We're also considering the litigation that NCAE has and they're opposed to the elimination of tenure in general. So it's actually a bigger suit. So these are two litigations that are bubbling out there that we're considering. I just wanted to let you know. Sorry that I was out of order. No one called me on it, so I just kept talking. Board members, that brings us to the Board of Education meeting minutes. And you're going to have to give me a minute till I get to that place in my booklet. Where are they? Presented for our approval tonight, we have the minutes from the January 14th, 2014 special meeting, open and closed sessions. We have minutes from the January 23rd, 2014 regular meeting, open and closed sessions, and also minutes from the February 11th, 2014 special meeting, open session. Board members, do you have any revisions, changes, additions, any comments about the minutes? Hearing none, these minutes will be approved. Item 9 is our consent agenda. Those of you who attend our meetings and follow them on TV know that all of these items we've discussed thoroughly in one of our 3 committees, either administrative services, support services, or instructional services. And now these have been placed on consent, and these items are the 2013-14 budget amendment, number 1, information technology, Durham Public Schools technology plan, Hillside High School bids for chiller replacement, phase 2, and the sale of Morris Street facility. Board members, is there a motion? Yes.
I move that we approve the items A through D on the consent agenda.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve items A through D on the consent agenda. Those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. It is unanimous. That brings us to item 10, reports of the committees. And we have our Administrative Services Committee with 1 item on it for us to receive a report. And Ms. Byer is the chair of that committee.
Thank you, Ms. Carter. You notice that in the consent agenda we approved the budget amendment number 1 for 2013-14. This was an incredibly comprehensive, transparent budget resolution, and we're so proud of the work that's gone into crafting that. It is online for the public and anyone that's interested in reviewing that. We also, if you'll flip your packet to the very back, past all the contracts, administration has developed some budget priorities and guiding principles for discussion here, and we discussed these some at our meeting, but you all might have more thoughts. Mr. Osteen, do you want to?
I'll just invite our Chief Financial Officer, Aaron Bowyer, up to the podium, and he's going to walk you through the list as is. There were some changes made at the committee that he has included. It's a living document. This is not the end of it. If there are changes we want to make as we continue our budget work, we certainly can, but Aaron, if you'll take us through the status as we have it now.
Thank you, Mr. Osteen. Good evening. It's a privilege and an honor to work with you toward this budget development to meet all the needs of Durham Public Schools as we formulate the 2014-15 budget. As part of that transparent process, it was recommended, and with very healthy discussion, these items were addressed within the committee to look at setting parameters within budget priorities and guidelines. Very quickly going through those, the very first item that's in your budget priorities and guiding principles was added by the committee and the board. And I think that's the essence and that's the backbone to the budget as we proceed. The board clearly indicated that the first and number 1 priority within the district should be provide funding that directly impacts our students and teachers. That kind of sets the tone. The rest of these kind of lay out within those parameters how the budget will be developed, how different things will be considered, and how we'll progress. But just going through them, provide accurate projections in student membership, the importance of our average daily membership and how it drives transparent, equitable allotments to all of our schools based upon their actual enrollment and their numbers. Maintain current funding level in county appropriation. maintain current staffing formulas across the district and continue to invest in our classroom teachers and staff, maintain current non-salary allotments to individual schools, reduce the dependency on lapsed salaries to balance the budget, reduce the dependency on committed fund balance to cover salary and benefits, absorb within the current resources any fixed costs and inflationary increases for operational expenses, absorb within current resources any increased enrollment within Durham Public Schools, absorb within current resources any increases in charter school growth, absorb any state mandates to cover salary and benefit increases, and then review all contracts within the district for appropriateness and potential savings, and review all operational expenditures to maximize efficiency and potential savings. And as was stated prior to this, this is a living document that continues to progress as we start to build the budget, as we start to formulate some of the terms you've heard me use as I've been here. It's all putting the pieces together. And as we formulate the pieces, as we get information, the governor started to come out with some of his parts and pieces. It's our job to make that information known, transparent, and available to all parties. Be glad to answer any questions you may have.
Excellent. It's an excellent list. It's a conservative list, fiscally conservative list. I have a few more things to say about it, but I'm going to open it up to my colleagues first. Board members, I know you have questions or comments. Minnie?
Well, first, Aaron, I want to commend you and my fellow board members for putting some principles in place, not to say that these aren't things that we have been thinking about, but now you see them in black and white, and you can look at a budget decision that's being made and see how it actually affects or aligns with what we have as our guiding principles, and able to communicate that to our stakeholders. So that makes sense. It makes the transparency of the budget process evident for our stakeholders. So when they ask, well, why did you all do this, or why did you cut this, we can go right to our guiding principles and say this was either out of line or certainly not a priority for us based on what we have as our priority. So I really commend your staff and the board for selecting us. Thank you.
Thank you, Minnie. Great comments. Who would like to go next? Nancy?
So this is how I'm hearing you. So let me know if I'm hearing you correctly. That these will be used to develop the budget, and then that means that they don't preclude changes being made. For example, when the Budget Advisory Council meets, they may say, for example, no, we really don't want to maintain current non-salary allotments to individual schools based on feedback from the community. For example, comments that we've heard tonight from folks in the arts departments, arts programs. We actually need to see increases to the non-salary allotment to individual schools. So that kind of recommendation could come from the Budget Advisory Council. That could be then worked into the superintendent's budget recommendation, and then once we receive the board receives the superintendent's budget, of course that's an opportunity for us to build from this foundation, the parameters that you've set out here. So I'm happy with these, and I'm glad that we worked together to come up with this first one, which indicates our commitment to making sure that our students and teachers have what they need in the schools every day. And I think that I'm trying to help the public understand that these are a beginning. They're parameters, as you've said, right? And what I've said is correct, that changes can be made.
Yes, very much so.
All right.
But I just want to say to my colleague that very first statement precludes everything. Provide funding that directly impacts. So regardless of whether it's a non-salary allotment, if the kids have duct tape on their tubas, or they're having to borrow tubas from the other school, as Southern had to do this year, to borrow tubas from Hillside to play at halftime, then we know that there's something that has to be done because the funding needs to be. So that We know that that'll kind of take care of that. That'll preclude it.
We are absolutely saying
Yeah.
the same thing.
Yeah.
I'm saying that, I mean, I voiced at the committee meeting that I'm not happy with the wording, maintain current non-salary allotment to individual schools. I would actually I wanted that to be changed to say, look seriously at putting back funding from at least 2010 when we started having those cuts. But I'm satisfied with what I'm hearing now because I'm understanding that these are parameters, and I'm understanding that the Budget Advisory Council is going to meet. That's made up of community representatives, people in the business world, principals and teachers. The PTA has a representative. The DAE will have a representative. And with the superintendent and our finance department, they will craft the superintendent's budget recommendation. And at that time, they might decide, no, we want to put money back in. We don't want to just maintain the current level. And then that budget will come to us, and at that point we may decide, no, we need to look seriously at the damage that's been done, like we've heard, and like the example that I've used before. The arts department used to have $30,000, and they were able to take that $30,000 and rotate it every year to every marching band every high school that had a marching band for uniforms. So that would offset the cost to individual students to have new uniforms or to refurbish uniforms. And that money has been gone now for 3 years. I would like us to put that money back in place and make sure that we have continued funding identified so that we don't end up in a situation that when we have to make cuts to our budget because the funding isn't there, because of the powers that be, those kinds of issues those kinds of cuts aren't ever made again. And I know that the finance department is in line with this thinking, and that the board is as well. And so I really am using this as an opportunity to educate this wonderful group of people here and understanding how this process is going to work.
Thank you, Nancy. Lee?
So where I see you guys really agreeing is that this first point is our leading principle, and that in any of the conversation that the Budget Advisory Committee or we have from this point on, these are sort of touch points to say, okay, we're talking about issue X. Let's look at our guiding principles that we've agreed on. And we could decide to change them, but I think everyone really strongly agrees at this point that point one is our focus and things flow from that. And so we're just going to be checking in with ourselves through this entire process and reminding ourselves of where our priorities are. So yeah, good agreement.
Great. How about this end of the table?
One of my favorites on here that I'm looking forward to doing the work on is number 12. And I think we have a lot of contracts. Sorry, I numbered them. There's 13. Last one from the bottom. So it does seem, Aaron, that when you sent us recently a list of contracts, that we have an enormous grouping of contracts with vendors, and really as we dig in and hopefully in the future can get some research on some of these about their program effectiveness and where we're getting the biggest bang for the buck, because I think there's some room for exploration there, and I look forward to digging into some of that work in the future. Can you remind me which federal grants that are expiring this year? Do we have some Race to the Top or some SIG? Do you know? Dr. Wilson, or do you? Probably expiring, and SIG grant for Wiseman and Hillside. And also all those transformation DPI people disappear. Yeah, or no. Right.
There may be carryover funds. We don't have the exact information on that yet.
So loss of money there. You know, I think one thing that we need to keep in mind, and at least this is how I'm thinking about it, and that is item number 3, bullet point 3, maintain current funding level in county appropriation. In other words, we're not asking for any new money from the county. We're not likely to get new money from the state, or it sounds like we're losing money from the federal government. So any additional spending we do is going to have to come from some decrease in one of these other bullet items. And so that's where we find ourselves. You know, that's the reality. So I think that's a good approach. You know, when the Budget Advisory Committee's meeting and we're having to make hard decisions and having to prioritize expenditures, we may find that we're going to try to pull money from somewhere else. But anyway, I think this is a great approach. I would like to follow up on Natalie's question about contracts. Review all contracts with district appropriateness and potential savings. Is that a category that we could or it would make sense to approach that from a zero budgeting base, and every contract has to be, you know, sort of justify itself, rather than continuing with what we had and, you know, and then looking at some, but just assuming we have no money, and then I mean, I don't know, maybe a horrible idea. It's just something I thought of.
That's a very realistic approach to a budgeting process. And again, as you set some of these additional parameters, and some of these parameters that you'll have to absorb the cost will come at an expense to the district. So just as you've mentioned, it's going to be a give or take within our current resources. And just to echo some of the sentiments of the board, these are allowing you to maintain. Doesn't mean you can't redistribute the allocations. You can't decide within those resources. You have other priorities, but it's setting within that climate that you're doing everything possible to maintain and not start this budget process reducing something to the staffing levels, the allotment levels, and those kind of things as we start that review process and the budget development process.
If you're going to do zero base, that's probably the category to start with.
That'd be a good one to start with. I mean, we've talked about, you know, trying to take a zero-based budgeting approach, and maybe that would be a good way to, you know, try it.
To do it fully, but that'd be a good place to start.
Just start with one small area that we're concerned about anyway. Let's think about it.
I'm really concerned that we never, ever talk about a budget for prisons. We've never talked about reducing anything that costs for us to maintain our jails and our prisons, the cost of keeping a person incarcerated, where every time we come to the table for talk about how much it costs to educate our children. I think we need to flip this conversation sometimes, and I'm calling on our community to try to ask that question more, to be more vocal and more aggressive in approaching that we are always nickel and diming our children and looking at what we need to cut here and how much we need to pay for a teacher here, and can we get rid of this program, and is this valid? And we never talk about what happens in our prison system. And as we talk about eliminating the school to prison pipeline, we're going to have to put more money in education, and that's just where it is. And so when we talk about maintaining current funding and county appropriation, I'm with you. We're not going to be able to do that. We're going to have to have more money to educate our children. We know that children are coming to us not just for academic growth, but our children have real needs and mental health issues, and we've seen it in our community. We see it every day, and so that's going to cost us money. And so Durham, we're going to have to step up. We're going to have to step up and educate our children. If we keep saying that they really matter to us, if we keep saying in our vision statement that Durham cherishes its children and the Durham Public Schools is a reflection, a daily reflection of that caring, then we're going to have to step up and actually do that and stop nickel and diming what we're doing for our children. So that's what I want to say. We're going into a budget year. It's 2014. Yes, it's rough. It's rough everywhere. And so if our first bullet says provide funding that directly impacts our students and our teachers, and everything else flows from that. Let's keep that at the forefront, and let's do what is right by our children.
Oh, those are excellent comments. We do have bullet number 3, though, that says maintain current funding level in county appropriation. Are we? I'm okay with keeping that. Are we all okay with keeping that, knowing that we're going to go through the process? That is our goal. You know, I am a little concerned that if we if we ask for money from the county, I mean, there's the off chance they might actually ask us to give them money back based on our fund balance situation last year. Our fund balance is rather high right now, so I just think we need to keep all of that in mind as we move forward into the season. All right, do we approve these? Do we take an official vote on this?
Yes.
I move that we approve the guiding principles for our budget for 2014.
Second?
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the 2014-15 budget priorities guiding principles. Those in favor say aye. Aye. It is unanimous. Thank you very much, Mr. Beaulieu.
Thank you.
All right, board members, that brings us to item 11, closed session, and I need a motion to consider confidential student information protected under North Carolina General Statute 115C-402 and the Family Education Rights and Privacy Act, FERPA, 20 U.S.C. 1232G, and also to consider personnel matters and to prevent the disclosure of confidential personnel records pursuant to 143-318.11A1, 6, and 115C-319, and finally to consult with the board attorney to preserve the attorney-client privilege as provided in North Carolina General Statute 318.11A3.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we go in closed session for those reasons I just stated. Those in favor say aye. Aye. We're now in closed session. We have our faithful audience.
We're saying it's worth your wait.
Our most loyal fans.
It's going to be interesting.
Okay, we're back in open session, and Mr. Osteen has a recommendation for us.
Board members, we submit the personnel report for the February 27th, 2014 board meeting.
All right, it's been moved and seconded that we accept the personnel report dated for February 27th, 2014. Those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. It's unanimous. And is there anything else we'd like to discuss? Are there any other motions anyone would like to make?
Madam Chair, I have a motion. I'd like to move that we authorize the chair to cooperate with the attorney for the North Carolina Association of Educators to provide support in the form of an affidavit in the litigation that seeks to maintain the tenure rights of teachers, and that we instruct the board attorney to communicate with the attorney from the Guilford County Board of Education and determine if it would be practical or helpful for the Durham Board of Education to join any lawsuit that they might file regarding the contracts to 25% of teachers, asking them to give up their tenure rights in the form of a lawsuit that requests declaratory relief. I got a little
Second.
muddy.
All right. It's been moved.
Clean enough.
It's been moved and seconded. Would you like me to read that back, or is everybody clear with it? Or the attorney, our reporters are saying. All right, it's been moved and seconded that this board authorized the chair to cooperate with the attorney for the North Carolina Association of Educators to provide support in the form of an affidavit in the litigation that seeks to maintain the tenure right of teachers. And this board also instructs our board attorney to communicate with the attorney from Guilford County Board of Education and ask if it would be helpful or practical for the Durham Board of Education to join any lawsuit they might file regarding the law to offer contracts to 25% of their teachers in exchange for their tenure rights. Is there any discussion? Here.
I can second the motion.
Okay, did we
We
have
did.
a second?
We already had a second.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's all right. I didn't.
She was just reading it back.
Sure. All right, everyone. I think we're ready for the vote. Those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? It is unanimous. All right. Yes, Pastor Davis is not with us tonight. He is on business.
And he said that he is in definite support of anything that supports teachers in our district.
I mean, I might just add that the board decided to take this action because we feel like taking these two steps is, our way of showing our strongest support for our teachers who work so hard for us, and also we believe that it can have the greatest impact in favor of our teachers, among other reasons. All right. Since there's no other business and we're at the item on our agenda where it says to adjourn, we're adjourned.